Welcome back to the Overheard Podcast, recorded live in Banff. My name is Daniel Rudel. Big shout out to Maddie Rage, joined us behind the scenes on the click clackers, doing some editing for us. Big thank you. Make sure you go follow him on Instagram as well, DJ Maddie Rage. He's a DJ. If you like electronic music, go give him a shout. Very special guest today. Thank you for joining us. We're here with Daisy, the Bow Valley SPCA's center manager, as well as Andrea Graham, who's on the volunteer board of directors. How's the day going so far?
Fabulous.
Yep,
Can't complain.
Yeah.
Beautiful day out in the Bow Valley. You might hear some of our cute future guests in the background here, so bear with us. I can't wait to meet some of them. So
Can't wait to introduce you.
before we get too far into things, if it is your first time joining us, we check the analytics every week. Between 70, 80%, sometimes 90%, depending on the guest, are joining us for the first time and not hitting the like and subscribe. Can you believe it? How insane. It costs you nothing, helps us tremendously. Please, if you're out there and that is you, hit the like and subscribe. Helps us bring you more community-based episodes like this and plenty more from beyond the Bow Valley. Before we get too far into things, we got to check in with our sponsors, of course. Drink Shaft. This episode would not be possible without them. We'll be right back with you in just a minute. Maybe I'll leave that one in there. This episode is brought to you by Drink Shaft. When it's summer in the Bow Valley, early isn't optional. First light on the fairway, glassy water at the shoreline, that first hit of sun that tells you the day is yours. But there's a difference between showing up and doing it right. And that, my friends, is Drink Shaft. Cold, nitro infused. I like the non-alcoholic one myself. It's the Bow Valley's #1 grab and go cold brew. So start early and do the day right with Drink Shaft. We are back. Oh my God, I haven't had a cold one in a long time.
It's a little toasty in here too, so it's perfect.
It's perfect, honestly. Yeah, super refreshing. Wow, cold one's nice. I'm usually hitting them warm from traveling and setting up and all this stuff, so that's super nice. Before we get too far into things, if you have not heard of the Bow Valley SPCA, it's much more than an animal shelter. It's been serving communities from Banff, Canmore, and beyond. It was built around one simple idea, that animals deserve better. In fact, right now we're sitting in Canada's very first purpose-built, no-kill, no-cage adoption center, replacing rows of kennels with more natural, low-stress environments designed around the well-being of the animals in its care. Every year, the SPCA helps rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome animals while also providing educational programs, community outreach, volunteer opportunities, and support for pet owners who are facing difficult circumstances, which sometimes, let's face it, in the Bow Valley, it happens.
Absolutely.
Running an organization like this isn't always easy. Rising costs, increased demand for services, and the realities of animal welfare mean there's a lot happening behind the scenes that most people never see. We'll dive into some of that today. So today we're going to talk about what makes the Bow Valley SPCA different, the challenges facing animal welfare organizations today, and some of the incredible stories that remind us why this work matters. Let's get right into it. For someone who's never heard of the Bow Valley SPCA, what's the story about how this organization came to exist?
Totally. So, I'm Daisy. I've been with the organization for 6 years, and the Bow Valley SPCA is coming up in a couple years on its 20th anniversary. So,
Wow.
So a little bit of history there is prior to the Bow Valley SPCA, there was no animal shelter serving the Bow Valley. And so the local vet clinics, if there were stray animals, they would get brought in there, and then their staff would try to sort of facilitate an adoption. But of course, that's not their specialty. So a group of vets, as well as a lot of animal lovers in the community, came together and said, hey, we need to, fix this solution and build an animal shelter here. And they were inspired by the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary, which is in the US and at the time was one of the leading no-kill, no-cage facilities. So they were inspired by that facility and said, hey, what if we did something like that in Canada? Because no such facility existed at the time. So
that seems wild to me.
Isn't that crazy
Yeah.
that small town Canmore and this group of just animal lovers and passionate people said, let's do something totally different, bring this next level of animal welfare to Canada. And so that's sort of how it began, was just as this passion project, and more, it was all community members and community driven got on board. And then came along Carla Cummings Sajonki, so her husband, Frank Sajonki, basically made a significant donation to get the building of this actual facility up and running and made it in her honor. So
Amazing.
that's how the building got its name, the Carla Cummings Sajonki Adoption Center. So he gave this gift in her honor. And
So we owe them many thanks.
Absolutely.
I would say, for sure.
And
This facility is amazing.
yeah, so our facility is pretty impressive that way. And yeah, so that's kind of how it came to be, was this no kill, no cage philosophy. And yeah, so cool that little small town Canmore is like the beginning of that in Canada.
So let's dive into specifically no cage. What does that mean for someone out there who's maybe hearing about this for the first time? 'Cause
Totally.
obviously we're not being overrun
Yeah.
by animals that are not roaming freely, but they do have the chance to do so, right?
Absolutely. So instead of traditional kennels, so in a lot of shelters, you'll see cages, sometimes cages even stacked on top of one
Yes.
another, just, to increase capacity. And so we took a different approach, and we have spacious rooms instead of cages. So the rooms really are pretty impressive. We have like floor to ceiling cat trees, like 20-foot ceilings. So we have several communal cat rooms, which also means that cats can be with their own kind, which is really important because a lot of cats are very social.
For sure. I mean, you would
Yeah.
imagine isolation has massive effects on humans. It would
Yeah.
have massive effects on
Big
our furry
time.
friends as well,
Yeah.
right?
Rest assured, the kitty cats that prefer their own space can also have a room all to themselves. So we do have some of those princess-like kitty cats that don't play nice with others, and they get their own room. And we also have attached catios, so cat patios,
Yes.
so that the cats can also have safe indoor-outdoor access. This is super helpful for cats that have maybe only ever lived outside, and the adjustment to living inside is a bit more challenging, so they have that option.
Fair enough. And
Yeah.
super trendy on social media stuff. Catios,
Big
you see them kind of on
time.
TikTok, and that's super cool.
There's
Everyone loves
some
it outside.
really cool ones in town too. Sometimes I drive around and just like look at people's houses and their catios, and they're so cool.
Very, very cool
Yeah,
stuff.
and then our dogs all have their own rooms as well. So for the most part, each dog, unless they like come in as a bonded pair, will have their own room. They also have attached indoor-outdoor runs. Again, super helpful for feral dogs or dogs that have only ever lived outside. And then we're actually on 2 and a bit acres of provincially leased land. So we close up the front gate in the mornings and in the evenings, and the dogs get like several hours of free roaming time on the full 2
It's like-
acres, which is like phenomenal. Yeah.
I don't know what other facility that houses dogs in this especially dogs,
Yeah.
right? They need space to
Yeah.
run, and they need outdoor time. So
Totally.
how does that? How do you find your differences in philosophies here set you aside from a big city shelter or something that's a bit more focused on numbers rather than quality of care?
Totally. Yeah, so the no cage is definitely part of that, and then the other half of our philosophy being the no kill approach.
Yeah.
So we will accept animals regardless of age, regardless of behavioral or medical quirks. That does mean that we do get animals that have sometimes higher needs and need a little bit more from us, and that's where the two philosophies really go hand in hand, because if we're accepting animals that maybe have some more rehabilitation or more challenges that we need to work through, it does mean that their length of stay might be a little bit more, which then means that we need to be able to provide a really high quality of life, because in a big overcrowded city shelter, to your point of like sitting in a cage, isolated, if you add on behavior or medical challenges, that can become a really difficult situation. So the fact that we're able to provide that high quality, individualized approach, and when I talk about individualized approach, and maybe Andrew, you have thoughts there, like we don't just mean like individual diet, we mean everything, like training, what their day looks like everything about the approach is individualized. So we're pretty different that way.
How do you figure out what they need as far as individuals, and how do you provide that care? Like that's
I mean, it's different for each animal. It's like different for each person, right? So as we get to know them and as they start to come out of their shell a bit more, we learn more about them, and then we can tailor things to them. But one of the things I think that excites the volunteers and the staff is really how they are all different, because you just learn so much, and you can really make an impact when you can start to say, well, this dog, perhaps he needs more exercise, and it's not just the free roaming. We need to get them out on hikes and do this. So we put together a program on that. Or maybe there's a dog that struggles with impulse control, meaning like they need to sniff something right now or need a kibble right now. But working through that, as we see that, we can get a dog, you will get there. You'll be able to sniff, but let's do it calmly, or working on them just to kind of control that need to eat something right now and kind of work through it. I mean, it's quite magical, really, like to be able to do that.
How long does that process take, first of all? And like, how much experience do you need working with animals to develop this type of almost intuition, like anticipating their needs? Like that's, if I think of myself who hasn't grown up around animals or spent time with them, like I would assume a dog means that, you know, it's wagging its tail, it must mean this, right? Where that, like, it's much more deeper than that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, totally. And we have a real range of skill sets on our team. I mean, we have animal care attendants that this is sort of their first job in the industry. They've maybe had pets, they're animal lovers, but maybe this is their first time working professionally. And then we also have volunteers that are certified dog trainers, a volunteer that's a like certified cat behaviorist, which is so cool that that's a thing. And then we have that in the Valley. So we have like that really range of perspectives. And I also think that really helps us because to that point of every animal's different, it's going to take a different timeline and for each animal, and sometimes different people click with different animals as well. So that's something pretty magical too.
Mouth. Like, how do you match, say, an animal with a volunteer? How do you know right away if it's going to mesh or not, or what's that look like?
Do you have any thoughts?
I do. I think you kind of figure it out sometimes, right? So, and just to kind of like layer on a little bit with that is, I feel like we're such an inclusive and open environment. So you've got this range of skill set that Daisy talked about, but people show up because those that are the trainers and really qualified are really open with sharing their knowledge with volunteers to see the dog's benefit. So everybody grows a little bit and kind of keeps putting something else in their tool belt.
Amazing.
But I mean, how do you know? I mean, generally, I can say this, shepherds, I'm generally not their favorite all the time. Right? We just, we work through it, we figure it out, but it's not instant. But I can see other volunteers that we have, you yourself, Daisy, are kind of like this instant bond with shepherds. For me, it just takes us a little bit longer, but with some other ones, it's just sort of instant. So I guess it's your choice of, do you want to figure out how to kind of work through that with the animal and understand them and work with what you both need to give and take.
Interesting.
And to maybe just piggyback a little bit on that in terms of like the training that we provide. Another sort of unique thing about us is that we're purely positive reinforcement and force-free in our training approach. Big words.
I'm thinking about the opposite of that.
Totally.
Not super cool.
Yeah, and so there's actually a program, it's called Fear-Free Shelters. So it's based off of the Fear-Free Veterinary Program, which is sort of leading veterinary training for vet staff on like fear-free handling techniques, and there's a prong of that that's for shelter workers and volunteers and that sort of thing. So all of our staff are fear-free shelter certified. So there's this training on how do we apply this, in practice, because it's one thing to say that you only use, positive reinforcement or force-free, but what does that actually look like in a shelter environment where, the cat has to take its pill? So how can we do this in a way that is the least stressful to that animal? And it's simple things, but you wouldn't think about it unless you're really, that's front of mind. Like just for example, like if you're trying to get a dog back into its room and it's maybe never been in a confined space before, it's really easy to say, I'm just going to grab the leash and we're just going to drag the dog in. Why not try a trail of hot dogs? Like you'd be shocked how magical hot dogs are. And can we do things in a way that is the least forceful and the most, humane way possible for these animals?
Is really like, for me hearing this, it's comforting to think that maybe if this animal didn't have the best time before they got here, that at least when they get here, they're going to get the respect that they deserve, I think is kind of the big
totally
thing.
And I think a huge compliment to the shelter is we get a lot of dogs that have been adopted out and they come back for a visit, and these dogs are excited.
They're stoked.
They are
so cute.
over the top happy. We just had a long-term resident come and visit us last Tuesday, and it was great. He jumped out of his truck all confident and going sniffing around and stuff. So a huge testament to using that methodology. It works really, really well.
Well, that's got to be like the biggest compliment.
It is.
There.
That's like, I did my job well if they're excited to come back. Yeah.
I was just kind of something that came to me as we were speaking here. For someone who maybe isn't as intuitive or like comfortable around animals, what would be your advice to someone encountering animals in their day-to-day? Say they're on a walk, you hear it all the time, especially in the Bow Valley, maybe an off-leash dog or maybe a vocally aggressive dog. How would someone who's not comfortable with that, maybe a tip for them to deal with it?
Do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I I think if you start on the simple, really simple one, often people see a dog and it's a really cute, maybe fluffy dog, and they run right up to it and they just assume that they can pet it and touch it.
Yeah.
It's just not right. But, give the dog space. If you see a dog, just don't come near it, give it more space. Often if they are being vocal, they're probably quite uncomfortable in their situation. And while you might be 40 feet away, maybe they need you to be 100 feet away. So just giving them more space. Off-leash dogs, just simply asking people, you can say, hey, I'm really scared of dogs. Like, do you mind just putting your dog on leash while I pass by? I mean, that's a whole...
Yeah, that confrontation tends to be a little bit more heated in my experience. I play a lot of disc golf here.
Yes.
And the disc golf course is one of those places. Like, I've played with people that are like, nah, my dog should be free to run and do its thing. It has recall. I can call it back. Arguable. Again, depending on the breed, depending on the connection with the animal. I don't know, but
Definitely like a bigger question on community, right?
Yeah.
And being a good member of the community. And I get it. I mean, you see a lot of dogs that they do have a great recall, but that doesn't mean that the other, your neighbor is necessarily comfortable. We don't know what their history is.
Yeah.
What, have they been, attacked by an animal before? And it doesn't have to be a dog. It could be
Totally.
any animal that
For
creates
sure.
a fear. Or, a dog, seeing a dog run up. I mean, perhaps they were attacked. There's just so many things where it's actually really easy, if we stop and think about it, to pop your dog on a leash if you're in an on-leash area, move by and then, do what you feel that you need to do. But it's really easy to be a good neighbor for that moment where you're passing by someone.
And I think that's like having courtesy for your neighbor
Yes.
in that sense,
Totally.
especially in areas. I saw the sign on the door when I came in, like, keep your dog on a leash. I feel like a dog on a leash is a safe dog, especially when you're talking about large predators in the Bow Valley and
Totally.
other wildlife in the area.
There's so many reasons to keep your dog on a
Yeah,
leash.
yeah.
Especially when
So-
you live in a park. Yeah.
I think like what I was thinking about too is people just not communicating enough with the owners about
True.
petting their dogs, like especially with young children. It's like you have to be mindful of your young children that though these people's dogs are not there for their amusement.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they may have behavioral issues, or again, like we hear horror stories, but can often be prevented, I
Yes.
feel, with education, right?
Totally. I have a dog that I adopted from here. His name's Gunner. He is 110 pounds, and he is the biggest baby of a dog you will ever meet.
Yeah.
He has no idea he's 110 pounds. And I was shocked when I adopted him how many people think they're entitled to pet your dog. Like, I
Yeah.
would walk down the street with him, and he's friendly, but he's fearful of new people. And especially when I first adopted him, he was all the more so nervous of new people. Like, he was essentially a feral dog when he came to the shelter. And I was so surprised, like, we were just walking on the sidewalk, and, now I make more of a concerted effort to, like, make a loop around people. But people would literally stick out their hands and pet him as we're walking past. And I'm like, hello, like, you wouldn't just grab someone's child as they're walking. Like, it's such a strange phenomenon that people think they're entitled
Well, that's
to.
what I mean. I feel like
Yeah.
presenting yourself in that way, sometimes abruptly or unannounced, is just like, of course, you can surprise an animal just as much as you can surprise a person, right? And
Even a friendly dog
Yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't know or gets surprised, like, you just have no idea. So, yeah.
all great tips.
Yes.
Amazing. Let's talk a little bit more about the SPCA and kind of the umbrella organization. How does that work as far as you? Say you're on the ground, we're running this center. Who do you have to relay to? Do you have like an overseer from the SPCA that comes in and checks things out? And like, how does that relationship work?
Yeah, so I think that's actually a common misconception, is that there's sort of that we're a branch of a larger organization,
yeah.
but at least in Alberta, like, humane societies, SPCAs, rescues, they're all independent, and there's no like single regulatory or governing body. It's a little bit different in other provinces.
That was my misconception.
Yeah.
I thought kind of SPCA oversaw everything and then kind of managed these shelters or centers as they could.
Yeah, not at all. So Alberta
Cool.
does have the Alberta SPCA, and they have enforcement officers for cruelty cases, neglect, that sort of thing. So that's sort of their jurisdiction if there's
And
like
they have
big
like
hoarding
legal
situations.
jurisdiction as well?
Yeah, so they
Cool.
have like police on staff and
sweet.
people specifically trained for that. And so they sort of enforce animal cruelty and abuse in Alberta. And then you have all of these different humane societies. So there's like the Calgary Humane Society, the Cochrane Humane Society, Edmonton Humane Society, but they're all completely independent, and they're independently run, independently funded, not related to one another
That's kinda
in the
shocking to
slightest,
me.
which
Yeah,
is surprising
like,
for a lot of
yeah.
people to learn. And I think a lot of people also then think that, if we're associated with all these other SPCAs, then there must be funding that comes, through the government or
100%.
something like that. When in reality, we're over 75% donor funded, and then the rest is our own programs, services, grants that we apply for. So we don't get like government funding from the government of Alberta or anything like that.
So that's exactly what I had assumed until I started researching, and then I saw the numbers of the amount that you rely on donations, which is A, amazing that you're able to get it from the community, but B, just shows the need for more, honestly, with rising economic strain, not only on shelters or services, but on individuals. These services become more necessary, and we'll touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
First, I kind of want to talk about, let's go through like an animal's journey. Let's say from being dropped. I'm assuming they're dropped off here. Do you pick them up? Let's
start from the beginning.
Take us through it.
Totally. So we get animals a few different ways. The one way I think that most people sort of think of right off the top is stray animals. So animals that are found at large. We're not the ones that go out and say catch a dog that's running down the street. That's actually our municipal enforcement officers. So Canmore bylaw or Banff bylaw. That would be the first responders to any at-large animals. And then if no owner comes forward within like a 72-hour period, then that stray animal would be transferred into our care. So that's sort of when their journey with us begins. So
is it like a jurisdictional thing? Like if they're found, say, in Canmore or in Banff, or if they're found versus like closer to Calgary, they end up in a different area?
Yeah, so town of Canmore, like anything within the town of Canmore would be Canmore Municipal Enforcement. Anything within the town of Banff would be Banff Municipal Enforcement. Okay, and then outside of those areas, they'd have their own.
They would bring to the appropriate. Okay, cool. Interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. So once we receive a stray animal, they always start out in isolation. We obviously don't know their vet history, their behavior history, anything like that. So they would start out sort of in a separate area where they're not around other animals. We would get them to see the vets. So we have partnerships with all 3 of the local vet clinics here in Canmore to get them the necessary vetting that they need. So exams, spay or neuter if they're not already, vaccinations, deworming, microchip. And then on the dog side, we do behavior assessments on dogs before they're made available to the public.
Which, probably necessary for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a little bit, I guess,
cats? Like cats can be aggressive too, right?
Very true. Just a little bit lower risk.
Fair.
Yeah. So sort of, not quite as much of a specific need, but we still get to know the cats still as well. We basically score them level 1 being super easy, suitable for a first-time dog owner, up to level 5 being a dog that has some more significant behavioral or medical challenges and is looking for more of a particular kind of home. And then once they've had that vet clearance, behavioral clearance, then they'd be made available for adoption. So our cats, people are welcome to come visit without an appointment anytime we're open to the public, whereas our dogs, it's scheduled meet and greets, just so that we can spend a little bit more one-on-one time, since they might need a little bit more of that focused attention for the adoption counseling side of things. And then the other places we tend to get animals are owner surrenders. So people that aren't able to take care of their animals anymore, for whatever reason that might be, would fill out a surrender application. We don't do same-day surrenders because we often do have a wait list for surrenders because the demand to surrender animals often exceeds the space that we have. They'd fill out that application, and then as we have space permit, we would intake those animals that owners are no longer able to take. And then we do also sometimes take transfers from other shelters, mostly within the province of Alberta, occasionally outside of Alberta as well. Shelters that are either very overflowing or have animals on euthanasia lists that, for whatever reason, they're considering euthanizing. We try to pull those animals as we have space permitting to help out as well. Yeah.
That's going to make you feel good inside when you do something like that, like maybe save an animal from euthanization.
Absolutely.
That's got to be great. What should someone considering adoption, like if they're out there listening, what are you looking for, or what are you considering when it comes to like relinquishing care of these animals into people's homes? Like what are some of the traits that are necessary?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me is I appreciate when people think about their lifestyle and think about a fit for an animal in their lifestyle, rather than it's really easy to see a really cute picture, of a specific animal, or you're drawn to the look of a specific breed, but people might not consider that individual personality, because even if they're the same breed, like every animal is an individual and they're going to have their own personality. Really think about, does that personality fit my lifestyle? Because all too often you see people that get animals, you know, without maybe considering that. And then sometimes those are animals that do end up needing to be surrendered because they haven't considered whether or not they can provide the lifestyle that's going to set that animal up for success. Yeah, I'd say we tend to be pretty, you know, non-judgmental in terms of, you know, anyone can provide a great home. It's more about finding that right fit and being mindful about what are your deal breakers, what are the things you want to do with that animal, and then really talk to us as the staff, because we know these animals best, 100%. To try to find a fit rather than seeing a cute picture online and being like, oh, I want that cat because it's orange. Yeah.
Well, and I think like a huge shout out too, because Daisy, you do and you know administer all of our adoptions and really get into there. Our adoption return rate is quite low.
Amazing.
And that's really kind of assessing and challenging folks, and you know, do you want to have a hiking lifestyle, or you do have a hiking lifestyle?
True.
Very good point.
Yeah, just kind of getting through that. But really, I mean, our return rate is so low, and it means we're getting through to people, and they're able to hear that message about really finding that right pet, and it means it's working.
Yes.
I love it.
And
It's
our process is a little bit different too. We actually don't do same-day adoptions.
Yeah.
A lot of big shelters, you can walk in, pick an animal, spend 5 minutes with them, walk out the door with them. Yeah. We don't do that by choice because we want people to actually take the time to meet the animal, ask the questions, go home, think about it, come back with more questions.
Well, I think investing in that process is going to show in your return rate, right?
That's just it. Yeah.
A lot of people, like, I think, I learned this. This might be embarrassing to admit, but I learned this watching the Westminster Dog Show.
Yeah.
All right. I love watching the Westminster Dog Show. Obviously, it's like the best dogs. Anyways, dogs were bred in our past for specific needs or specific purposes, right? Like Dachshund, the wiener dog, everyone loves to call it, was bred to go into burrows and like, what is it? Badgers or something they're meant to like chase away. I never knew that until I watched the Westminster Dog Show. So again, when you talk about providing the lifestyle that's necessary for the animal, that's probably a huge misconception with people out there.
Absolutely.
When they're shopping, let's say for a cute kitty or a cute dog.
We see a lot of Great Pyrenees. They're these big, fluffy white dogs in shelters because they're farm dogs. They're guardian livestock breed dogs, and people will get them because they're very cute and fluffy and look like a little polar bear when they're a puppy and stick them in an apartment. Well, now you've taken away the whole purpose of why they were bred, which is to guard livestock and put them into a very different role. And unless you're fulfilling that need elsewhere, like you're going to start to have different behavior challenges arise because you're not fulfilling their needs. So
they're going to act out and like destroy your apartment, basically.
And there's certainly ways to fulfill those needs that aren't having a whole bunch of sheep, but you still have to be committed to doing something to fulfill those needs.
100%. 100%. When we talk about surrenders a little bit, do you feel like there's been an uprise in surrendered animals over the last, say, 5 years as kind of the economy is taking a hit and things are a little bit more unstable in the Bow Valley and beyond? Yeah. What are the challenges surrounding that? And I don't know, what are your advice to people out there maybe?
Totally. Yeah, the first thing that threw a big wrench in this industry was COVID. During COVID, everyone had all of this free time. They were sitting at home and they thought, what a great time to bring home a puppy or a kitten to fill my time. And then, of course, when COVID ended and when life started getting back to normal, now these animals maybe didn't fit into their lifestyle anymore. They want to travel. They're going back to work 8 hours. And so, during COVID, all these people were adopting. The shelters were all empty. And then as COVID, when things started to return to normal, surrender rates were like through the roof.
Surged
like
dramatically.
20 to 30 calls a day. Like it was, like not just from the Bow Valley, we get calls from all over, but still like.
There's also like the psychological aspect. A lot of people feeling isolated during COVID, and I think resorting to animals when you could interact with people was a very human reaction, right?
Yeah, for sure. And for some people did think about, what would this look like outside of it? And then that was a good choice. But for a lot of people, lifestyle changed and animals didn't fit their lifestyle anymore. And surrender rates were like record high. Every shelter in Alberta was full with like a year-long waiting list or more to surrender. Pretty tough reality. And when you think about no-kill shelter, or, we're a no-kill shelter, but they're not all like that. And you start thinking about what that meant for a lot of animals, it's tough. Thankfully, we're sort of starting to see the end of the light at the end of that tunnel. That hangover really lasted a lot longer than people expected. We were, still seeing, those surrenders years, post-COVID sort of thing. And then now with the economy, this is now one more reason. So, it sort of feels like we're moving out of those surrenders, but now we're seeing certainly a lot of surrenders due to financial challenges, housing challenges.
Pet-friendly housing.
Housing challenges, yes.
Let's unpack that a little bit. So, of course, my partner, very animal lover, we always kind of talk about that idea of maybe adopting an animal, but it's like it limits your housing availability to like, I don't know this for a fact, but like 3 or 4%. There's not a lot of options, more so in Canmore than in our neighboring Banff where I live. Like I want to say it's 2% available.
It's tough, right?
It's super tough. And I mean, there's different things. I mean, people have maybe had stable pet-friendly accommodation.
Yeah.
But if you look at the housing market, I mean, MLS, there's new listings like every day, right? And some of those, owners are putting their house up for sale, which is reducing it. The other challenge that we have is some kind of apartment buildings and that are pet-friendly are breed restrictive.
Why? I don't understand. What's the logic behind this?
I don't either.
Or like size restrictive. I've seen this before on applications, like must be under 60 pounds. Or...
Totally.
But when you look around the Bow Valley, I mean, there are some smaller dogs, but I mean, we're a hiking community, an outdoor community. We usually generally have medium to large size dogs. So that can really play a bit on that. But I'd encourage, people that if they do have rental accommodation and they're not pet friendly, kind of challenge them to maybe take a risk. I mean, I've got a rental and I only rent to people that have pets.
The opposite of that.
Yeah. And, I can tell you, we've been doing it for 5 years and I've never had a pet issue at all. So I think sometimes people are just a bit risk averse, but a little bit of work on their part would go a really long way. And it would really have such a positive impact on animal welfare in the valley and letting people keep their pets.
Yeah.
Let's dive into misconceptions about breeds, right? So this is obviously more pertaining to dogs. What are some of the more, I'd say, we talk about risk-adverse rentals and certain breeds. What would be some of the more discriminated against breeds and why, and what are some of those misconceptions?
I mean, definitely the pit bull.
Yeah.
I'll share a bit of a personal story if that's okay on my journey. So, I always had this perception of pit bulls. I didn't necessarily think of them as fighting dogs. Well, some people do. I mean, a dog is what a dog is based on the nurturing it gets, but I always viewed them as really strong and powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And then Daisy dog came into our care. And after a few months, I asked one of our volunteers, hey, could you introduce me to Daisy? I think I'm ready. Like, I'm seeing her personality. It's kind of quirky and fun. And while she is very strong and powerful, she is the absolute love of my life. So, and then that was really my first intro to them, just the affection, the need to please, the engagement, the want to train, and we've had a number of other pitties come through the shelter since then, and they're all the same. They might all be quite strong and powerful, but man, you can work with that and engage with them, and it's so rewarding, and they are by far the biggest cuddle bugs.
For sure.
I mean, come on, you can dress a lot of them up.
Yeah.
This reminds me of an animal. One of my good friends back home, Alex Gano, big shout out. He had it was a Rottweiler Bull Mastiff.
Oh, wow.
Very big dog, very strong. But again, same thing, such a cutie, scared of its own shadow, wouldn't attack anything. Yeah. But it's often these breeds that get very misrepresented, maybe through media, I feel especially with the pit bull thing, through certain cultures, specifically hip hop culture, they've been almost demonized and seen as this tough, mean dog, or pinchers as well, just being used in certain contexts.
Yeah, but even news articles, right? When you see a dog attack, which, let's be honest, they happen, right?
Yeah.
If it was a pit bull, the media will call out, it was attacked by a pit bull.
Yep.
It wasn't a pit bull when there was a dog attack.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Big
so that really is that discrimination piece. But Yeah, I mean, if you've never met a pitty before, maybe come to one of our dog day open houses that we do on the first Saturday of every month. We often get pitties that come through here, and we'll help you do a nice soft intro to one of them, and just full caution, your heart will melt and you'll fall in love.
They will change your mind. Yeah.
So maybe dangerous for a reason that is a little unexpected.
Yeah,
You know what I
totally,
mean? I love it. So we're talking about a lot of the positives working around these animals, but it must be emotionally taxing when we're talking about the opposite side, maybe the not so happy side of this work. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with those tough days, those tough moments? Does it ever become easier?
Yeah, I think I'll speak a little bit to the staff side of things, and then maybe Andrea can chat about how our volunteers sort of manage that. I always say, working in this industry, I see the very best of humanity. I see people that come in and say, what cat has been here the longest? That's the one I want to adopt. Or our volunteers that just give so much so freely and never ask for anything in return. And then you see the complete opposite side of animals that have come in just unspeakable conditions and, terrible situations. And so you really see both sides, but the good is so much more.
For sure.
The good is so much more. And compassion fatigue and burnout is so prevalent in this industry. In the veterinary industry, in the animal welfare industry, because you pour everything into these animals, and it's so difficult when you have challenging outcomes or situations or all of these things that I'm really proud that with our staff team we really prioritize mental health. I don't think it's talked about enough. You come in every day, you do all this work, and how are you filling your own cup, and how are you making sure you're taking care of your mental health? Because it's so important, because these issues of burnout and compassion fatigue are just so rampant in this industry.
This is the first time I've heard compassion fatigue.
Yeah.
Could we break down what that is for those that may be hearing it for the first time as
Absolutely. It's sort of the concept of, you're providing care to these vulnerable animals, and compassion fatigue also exists in human healthcare and other industries as well, but where you're providing so much compassion all the time that it's actually fatiguing yourself, and you're burning out your own ability to, provide care.
That makes sense.
Part of that is like leaving at the end of the day, but not being able to
turn it
that
off
here.
Yeah.
Taking that home
Absolutely.
with you and thinking about it overnight, and especially if it's like a strong medical case, is the animal doing okay and all of that. It's not easy to let it go.
No,
How
it's
do
not
you
like
deal
you
with
just
it from a volunteer
clock off.
perspective?
From the
you're
volunteer side, it happens on the cat side and the dog side too.
Yeah.
But the theme I see on both sides is that we have a dog team, we have a cat team, and then we have like volunteers that are involved all around, but they really talk and focus on all the positive transitions and the positive impacts that they've made. So that when maybe something isn't moving as forward as fast as you would like, the teams will always talk about, but remember when. And it's those remember when moments that really kind of hold everybody together. And I think similar to the staff, all the good that we see, all the hard work that pours into it, especially, kind of an example of like a dog like Henry, because he really hit both sides. The dog I mentioned that he came for a visit last week.
Yeah.
This is Henry.
Okay, yeah.
Henry was this giant, like, white shepherd mix who came to us at about 11 months old, had lived in 4 or 5 different homes. He had no stability, and he was a big boy. He couldn't do the free roaming like the other things, because he can just leap that fence in like one leap.
Oh, wow.
No like running start needed.
from the ground.
So the staff had to be walking him and engaging them while they're doing all their other duties. We had to put a volunteer call out for basically 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, for people to get him out hiking, engaging, getting him some enrichment. I mean, this was compassion fatigue. He wasn't the easiest guy. We had to work on training him. He had become easily overstimulated and all of that. But when he went to his forever home, which is like the best home ever for him, I mean, there were tears of exhaustion, tears of absolute joy, and tears of sadness.
Fair.
Because you put all of that in, but it's still so worth it, especially when he came last week. And he was the bestest boy. Like, so happy to be here. So, yeah, it's the positive that really outweighs it. And we all talk about it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We're not shy about talking about mental health, which I think is really important. And
Well, it comes down to curating a good team. Like, how do you do that? What goes into your side of things when you're deciding who you're surrounding yourself in this organization?
Yeah, I think it's just, and I'm lucky that this place attracts the best people. And I think it's because of that shared love of animals, appreciation of the philosophies that we have. So you really do get really good people here. As much as the animals are, one of my favorite parts of this job, it's the people that, make me excited to come to work every day. And I'm really lucky that way. And yeah.
And it shows, everyone seems very happy to be here, animals and people alike.
Absolutely.
So
there's a good energy here. Yeah.
We talked about Henry off camera before we start. We talked about Daisy. What are some other accomplishments or milestones that you're super proud of?
Can we talk about Cohen?
Yes.
So Cohen came to us, and as Daisy mentioned, we generally do behavior assessments before we do an intake. But one look at Cohen when he came here, and we just said, behavior assessment off, he will come into our care. He was missing fur on 70% of his body, is probably not an exaggeration, from allergies. But, he came into our care. We had him for about a year. We did this whole journey with him where his hair started to grow back and then it would fall out and he would have flare-ups. But we kind of kept doing this and we figured out a lot of things. We started him on an immunotherapy program for his allergies. Which is something most shelters wouldn't do. It really kind of goes to that every animal deserves everything that we can give them. But I think what is truly the best about Cohen is, most of his life, I think he's itchy all the time. He was the happiest boy. And everybody would just say, you know what, one day when I'm sick, I just want to be able to channel Cohen and just walk around with the happiest tail and just be so excited to see everyone. Yeah. And then because he was a dog that had severe allergies, from an economic standpoint, we knew we were looking for a very, very special adopter. His costs were significantly more than any regular dog that we would have. And we found them.
Amazing.
Yeah. And, they accepted him for what it is, open conversations about costs. And I think they sent us photos on the second day where he was all snuggled up into their bed.
Yeah.
Let's unpack animal allergies for a little bit. How does that even work? Say you get yourself a dog from whatever means you decide, whether you purchase one or you adopt one, and then it develops allergies. How does that happen?
Totally. Much like people where allergies can come and go. He was at one point on a specialized diet that had his allergies controlled, but, sometimes if they're controlled for some period of time and you change just one small thing, it can, really cause a flare-up, that sort of thing. So, and certainly we talk about allergies, but I also like people to consider that any animal can develop any medical issue at any point in time. To really make sure you're prepared for expected veterinary costs, but also the unexpected veterinary costs, because your dog could develop allergies or any other number of medical issues.
And just to talk about allergies for a minute, because of our nature, again, no cage, no kill, we can sometimes get those animals that are a bit more medically challenging. So, while we know they're really cute and while they're free roaming and we talk about the growth in the valley and everything that's built up, sometimes people come to our fence line and they want to pull treats out of their pocket or they want to share their chicken. While it seems really innocent enough, it can cause a lot of discomfort within the animals. And, fair enough, it's something people don't think about because it's not really talked a lot about. But chicken is a common allergen in dogs.
And cats.
So if you're standing at our fence line eating your chicken, don't share it with them. Don't share anything with them just in case.
Because allergies just hit me as what? How would you know if your animal has an allergy before you adopt them or before you of course, if you adopt them, you would know, but that just seems like such an unfortunate thing to happen.
Totally. And what can be tricky with animals too is sometimes the symptoms that you associate with certain conditions in people aren't necessarily the same in animals. So, yes, the itching is sort of universal for allergies, but with cats, you often see it, they get vomiting and diarrhea, but it could be related to a chicken allergy. So it's not always
you would think
hives.
It's something totally different, right? It's not like they can tell you what's wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Daisy, what about you? Important accomplishment or milestone milestone in your time here?
Yeah, something that stands out to me is last year we had the pleasure of hosting a delegation from Korea that was looking to basically get inspiration about how does a no-kill, no-cage center practically operate, because they have no such thing, in that area of Korea that they came from.
Yeah.
And so this delegation came out to basically learn about what we were doing and how can this work, with the intention of taking those learnings back to Korea to try to see if they can implement some of those strategies. And that was beyond cool to me, because, we think about all of this good work that we're doing locally, but we are really blazing a trail that's being noticed worldwide,
That's
like
so cool.
setting a precedent in animal welfare. And that's pretty cool for little Canmore.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like being leaders in anything, I feel like we have a lot of spotlight here, and we have the opportunity to be leaders in certain industries. In this case, animal welfare.
Yeah.
Shelters adoption.
Yeah.
I find it very cool that you're taking that opportunity and really running with it. That's great.
Yeah. And they found us, which was the coolest thing too. Like, it's not like we're like going out seeking these opportunities, but we're being noticed on a worldwide stage, which is super cool.
Another amazing compliment for sure. We talked a little bit about, sorry, this is not going to be in the questions here, but we talked a little bit about feral cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Can you tell our audience, like, what does that mean? We've heard the term feral. Feral would assume just living outside. Like, let's break down what that means and how those animals maybe aren't as bad as they seem.
Totally. So a feral animal is essentially an animal that has had no or very limited contact with people. Most of the time, you're right, they've grown up outdoors. Maybe they're a litter that was born outside, or an animal that, escaped very young, or whatever it may be. Feral cat colonies that populate. We don't have much of a feral cat colony in Canmore because we have so much wildlife, but that aside, but basically an animal that's had no contact with people, and so understandably they're generally very fearful of people. They've maybe never been touched by a person before, they've never been in an indoor space, and so these animals are gonna have a different transition into a shelter environment and then into a forever home. And
How did they react for the most part to that change from being living outdoors to being indoors and contacting with humans?
We're a little bit unique in that we accept these animals, and not only do we just accept them, but we really commit to the process of rehabilitating them. So there's a lot of shelters that would maybe consider like a barn or a shop placement for cats like that, which is, fair. It's just a different approach. But we really believe, and we see it over and over and over again, that with the right approach, a patient approach, a fear-free approach, and time is the biggest thing, honestly, that these animals can totally transform into really, loving companions, and the degree to which they become maybe like a lap cat, some will, some maybe will be content to sit beside you, but either way they can become a really, lovely family member. It just takes time, it takes patience, it takes a gentle approach, and basically, showing them that people are safe, that people can be trusted.
And I think, Daisy, often, if people want to think about it a simple way, often that approach is just the patience, waiting for that animal to come to you. So from a dog perspective, it might just be sitting in the room for 4 hours and just offering a treat, maybe not, just waiting for that dog to turn around or the cat to come to you, and letting them know, look, you're not going to force them to do something or force them to be touched if they're not ready. We can often find people laying in our cat rooms, just laying there with maybe a pillow and a book, and just waiting.
That happened. That was going down when we came to have that meeting. That happened. I remember walking past the room, and the volunteer just kind of waved down the floor. I was like, all right, cool. So
it's a real thing, and it works.
Interesting.
It does.
So just time and patience is feral kind of comes with that negative connotation of they're gonna tear everything apart.
Totally. It's usually not the case.
Amazing.
It's usually just that they need that time to build that trust. And, the dog that I had adopted, he wasn't completely feral. He did have someone that cared for him, but his exposure to the world was very, very limited, very narrow. It's just slow exposure to things, right? Like a little bit at a time. And once upon a time, I didn't, foresee that we'd be walking downtown Canmore, but now you'll see us strutting around downtown Canmore. It just takes time, right? And it's been about 3 years for him, and I'd say he's a normal dog for the most part now, but
do you remember when we showed him a pen?
Terrified. He had a beetle fly on his paw, and you would have thought he broke his leg. It was so scary. Yeah.
The strangest things with
The
animals,
strangest
huh?
things, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But
Let's talk about the shed shop here. We got a bit of a new initiative being launched. Not quite ready yet. Still in the works. So we can't take you in there, but we will eventually. What is it?
yeah.
What is the need that we're trying to fill?
Totally. So the shed shop as a concept has been around for quite some time. We used to have this very dilapidated, literally little shack, which is where it got its name. And we get a lot of very generous donations from the community of pet supplies that people can't use. Sometimes this is because a pet has passed away. Sometimes someone has bought their, dog a toy and, the dog wants nothing to do with it, wants to play with the cardboard box instead.
Or food they don't like.
Food they don't like. Yeah, exactly. And so, of course, we use whatever we need and can use for the animals in our care, but there's so much generosity that we ended up with a surplus of supplies being donated. So we started to put things out in our little shed outside, and somewhere along the way we had the idea to start reselling those items at an affordable cost.
Yeah.
And that's sort of grown over time into what is now the shed shop today, where if folks donate gently used secondhand pet items, and it's something that we have enough of for the animals in our care, it'll make its way out to our shed shop, which has essentially become a community thrift store for pet supplies. So it serves a few different purposes. Of course, it's promoting reuse instead of these things ending up in the landfill. Someone else is able to use it for their pets. It also targets affordability. Certainly, pet supplies can become quite pricey, and so having this as an option for secondhand supplies can be very helpful for folks that maybe have affordability challenges, as well as just providing that, I think there is an emotional component, especially when a pet has passed away, that they want their pet's belongings to, serve another purpose, and it can really be helpful in that grief process to know that it's going to be used by another pet.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
That's pretty hard.
absolutely.
Heartfelt, for sure.
I mean, like when people think about, well, what's in it? It must just be like dog beds and dog bowls. I mean, there's cat water fountains, there's booties, there's life jackets.
There is everything.
Backpacks if you want to take your feline friend hiking. I mean, there's always things popping up. Somebody just bought a sling for their puppy.
Yes.
Like a baby sling.
Treasure
love it.
trove.
Yeah.
So maybe a good idea for those that are pet owners to pop in here and check out the shed shop when it is fully open to the public, before they go spend that big ticket item brand new,
Totally.
100%.
And not only that, but the proceeds are going back to our operations. So we actually have been consistently bringing in $10,000 to $12,000, which makes a tremendous difference to being able to provide care to the animals here. So not only are you getting a steal of a deal on some really cool pet products, but all of the proceeds are supporting, rescued dogs and cats. Shed Shop is open. We're just waiting on some last little finishing touches there. We're going to be planning for a grand opening once we've got it all prettied up. But thanks to some very generous community donations, we've upgraded the scary shack that it used to be into a really nice little sort of small retail space out there. So we're hoping to improve the shopping experience.
Make it a bit more welcoming.
Make it a bit more welcoming, make it feel a little less like Narnia. But
Is there any events coming up that we're involved with as far as fundraising or anything like that we can let the people know about?
Yeah, maybe I'll kick off and then
Sure.
I'll hand you to education.
Yeah.
So should watch out. We're going to launch 50-50 draw. Everybody likes money.
Everybody.
So watch for that. That'll be launching this summer. And then also the Shed Shop grand opening, which should be taking place towards the end of August.
Amazing.
And then starting up again in September, our Dog Day open houses that we mentioned. So the public can come and meet our dogs. They don't need to fill out an application. They don't have to be interested in adopting.
Nice.
They can just simply come and cuddle and meet them. And we sort of started this off as something just to kind of try, and it's had so many positive unintended consequences. Like
I see posts on like Overheard in the community pages all the time that are just like, hey, I had a dog back home. Like I'd love to just walk someone's dog or just spend some time with an animal.
Yeah, and the dogs love it too.
They do.
So I'd say if people want to walk dogs, check out our website. We do have a process for walking our dogs, really just to make sure that people are on board and fully understand our force-free positive reinforcement philosophy. But volunteers to do that are always welcome. But yeah, so the event's the 50-50, the Shed Shop grand opening, and come and meet our pups on the first Saturday of every month.
Love it.
Starting in September again.
In September.
Take the summer off.
Yes. Fair. Enjoy that summer.
Yeah, and then not so much an event that's open to members of the public, but we're really excited. We're collaborating with the Family Connection Center. They're doing day camps over the summer for kids aged, I think it's 7 to 14. And so it's over several weeks, and they're going to have several days where they're coming to the shelter to learn about what we do, learn about responsible pet ownership. Of course, our surrender and adoption programs are sort of one half of what we do, but we also have a really important role in humane education, promoting responsible pet companionship. So we're excited to get to inspire some young minds. And
because that's got to be like formative moments for a young.
Absolutely.
Like I remember going to the same thing like Humane Society when I was young, and it's like, yeah, it really instills that love for animals, and like why not give a super educational message
Exactly.
with it, right? I think if more people kind of started off on that foot with their relationship with animals,
exactly,
maybe we'd have a lot less of those horror stories
totally.
we've been avoiding talking about. For anyone listening that wants to help the SPCA, that maybe isn't in a position to adopt, how can they do so? Obviously, financially, volunteering time.
Yeah.
What do you need from the community right now?
Yeah, so those things for sure. Donating, as we talked about, I mean, over 75% of our revenue comes from donations. So we are heavily reliant on those. Volunteering, and you don't have to necessarily want to interact with the cats and dogs. We have many volunteers, actually, some that are allergic.
Yeah,
Totally.
But there's so many talents and stuff that we can utilize to help benefit us. So we always want it to be rewarding both ways.
Yeah.
But definitely other ways. Follow us on Instagram and share our Instagram reel, our handle, which is BVSPCA. Same with Facebook. It's Bow Valley SPCA.
Yep.
And people might be thinking, well, I'm from Ontario, so, sharing it isn't going to make a difference. But it does. Like just 2 years ago, we had this big 140-pound Anatolian Shepherd, not a small town dog. And a couple from Ontario took notice of Buddy, and they had a lot of discussions with yourself and the previous manager to get to understand him. And then they drove out from Ontario and adopted Buddy. So
wild.
From an Instagram post they saw.
on Instagram, yeah. So
cool.
Don't think it isn't going. Sometimes people are looking for something very specific, and we may have it, so definitely share those.
Amazing.
And then I think lastly, from an animal welfare perspective, sort of, what we talked about, be a really good neighbor. It doesn't take a lot of work. If someone asks you to pop your dog on a leash, just do it till you get past. And, if someone's struggling with their reactive dog, don't stop and watch. Just keep moving.
Yeah, fair. Sometimes causing a scene, like everyone loves it,
Yeah, and the pressure just mounts on that poor person trying to solution that. So many ways that you can help. Yeah.
Amazing. Looking ahead, what does success for the Bow Valley SPCA look like to each of you individually?
I mean, for me, it's doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Staying really true to our roots, which to me, a really big part of that is that individualized care and attention for each of the cats and dogs. That is what enables us to do what we do. I think that's why we attract a lot of the donors and the people and the volunteers that we do, because we have that. Yeah, just staying true to our roots and, taking those challenging cases that other people don't want to. I mean, they're often more rewarding for us. And we learn so much.
I love that.
Yeah, I thought very much the same. I mean, it's all about saving more lives, right? So the more lives we can save, the better. And I think also growing the awareness of some of the supports that we have. So we do also give back to our community in different ways. We have a subsidized spay and neuter program. So for eligible low-income Bow Valley residents, we offer affordable spay and neuter services to help try to combat the pet overpopulation crisis that we have. And putting the word out about those services, making sure that we're reaching the people that need those sorts of supports and growing those supports as well. I think, that alongside with, giving more animals second chances, to me, that would mean we're very successful.
Of course. I mean, it seems like you're already quite successful here. I think in a perfect world, there wouldn't be a need, right?
Yep.
Like there wouldn't be a need for this, but the reality of the world is much different. And the fact that this is a very much needed service. And honestly, when you think of adoption centers or anywhere related to keeping a large number of animals, you do not think of a center like this, right? So I think my perception of even just walking through the doors and seeing how different this place is compared to your perceived notion of an animal shelter blew me away.
It's pretty special.
Yeah,
and people come in and they say, the animals look really happy. And I'm like, well, yeah, they are happy. But people have this idea of walking into a shelter and there's like a sad Sarah McLachlan soundtrack and the animals look really sad. But that's not the reality for centers like ours. And we're able to give them a really good life for as long as they're here. And that's something we're very proud of. So don't be shy to come in. You won't leave sad. You'll actually leave feeling really fulfilled.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it could definitely help fill your cup if you're missing that connection or you just want to put a smile on your face.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Last question here. If there's one thing you wish every pet owner in the Bow Valley could know or understand, what would it be?
Did you have anything?
I mean, I think you take, but I would just harp again on that being a really good community neighbor, whether or not you have a pet or not, just being that good community neighbor. That's what I would,
Yeah. It's a big question. I think the takeaway that I would love for pet owners to know is that there's resources and there's help. And a lot of people are facing different challenges with their pets, whether that's, behavioral challenges, financial challenges, just needing advice, being stuck in a difficult situation. Like, we're really here for support. We have a lot of services that we can offer. And if it's something that we can't offer a direct service, we can help you network to solve your situation. And, like you mentioned, that the ultimate goal of an animal shelter is to not have any animals in the shelter. And if we can proactively keep animals in their homes, I just want people to know that there's support and there's non-judgmental support, and we're really here to help in whatever way that we can, whether that's, recommendation for a qualified trainer or access to our, low-income programs. There's help available. And I think sometimes people don't reach out until they're at a breaking point, and then they're having a conversation about surrendering their animal when maybe it's something that we could have helped with before it gets there. Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
I think a big part of what you said there is non-judgmental support. I think there's a lot of stigma of maybe surrendering an animal.
Absolutely.
Like you couldn't do it, or you were a bad owner, or something like that.
Or you're scared to reach out because your dog bit someone and you don't know what to do. Or
fair point.
We won't. We will not judge your situation. We will just help where we can. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Amazing. Well, stay tuned. We got plenty more stuff coming down the pipe with the Bow Valley SPCA. We're looking forward to being more involved with the shed shop as it opens up, and just kind of keeping that conversation open, because I feel like we love animals. We love talking about animals.
So do we.
Right? Like the internet, everyone loves animals. Yeah. So it's kind of a win-win-win-win. I love it. And thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with us. I think we unpacked a lot of things today. I learned a lot. Especially in the first 20 minutes. I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? So I think our listeners and our audience are going to have, a very good time with this conversation.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for having us on. Seriously. Yeah.
We'll do it again sometime, of course. We'll touch base. Big thanks to Defending Awesome, another one of our local community partners. They do all of our merch. If you want to get yourself some of that, you can go to overheardpodbanff.com. I forget my own website. Overheardpodbanff.com is where you can find all the merch. We don't ask for donations. We don't ask for money. You should give it to the SPCA. Don't give it to us. And give us a like and subscribe if it's your first time popping in. We really appreciate it. It helps us bring you plenty more content like this. So
awesome.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, thank you for your time, Andrea and Daisy, for joining us. And like every week, we'll see you next Tuesday.